Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today it's all about building a house by yourself, and we're going to review the Belldinni doors. This is my order, and one thing I want to tell you about these Belldinni doors is so they're not cheap doors. So you can see each one of these doors right here was $1,000. This one down here was $1,900. I'm not sure why, but let's see, 1,090. Oh, they're just adding them up. So there's two of these, or there's two of these doors right here. So it equals 2,001. So they're $1,000 a piece, a little more than $1,000 a piece. There was a quantity 2, quantity 1 of these, and then I had these big slabs for my 38 by 84 slabs that were basically for my barn doors. So those weren't bad, 659. But I'm going to show you. So this is my order. So you basically go online and you specify your sizes, right or left hand swing, jamb, the thickness of your jamb, obviously the color, the header type. In this case, I'm doing all black. And the casing, I got telescoping casing, which basically the casing slides into the jamb, which I thought was a pretty neat innovation as far as an idea. And then, of course, I ordered the hardware, and I ordered all pre-hung. It's just been my habit it's been my experience that's a lot better way to order it. You spend a little extra money, like right here it says, they're charging you $64, $32 door head. So you're basically paying $100 to pre-hang the door before you get it. Now they didn't cut the casing. They just gave me blank casing for me to be able to cut. But otherwise, the pre-hanging service was worth it. Let's get out to the job site and go over the pros and cons of this type of material. Let's get started. Okay, right off the bat, it came in a really nicely built crate. The straps on the inside of the crate were loose, but basically everything was wrapped up pretty well. I did notice a couple spots on the corners of a couple of the doors that looked like they got banged up, but nothing too bad. Otherwise, it was basically put together with a lot of 1x4 and plywood, and of course on a big pallet. And I must say that I was impressed with how they shipped it in this crate. The only thing that, like I said, there was a couple spots, and I kind of showed them in a couple pictures. And the straps, like I said, the straps holding everything in there was loose also. So I'm sure it was being banged around. You can see those straps, they aren't even tight at all. Anyway, I go ahead and I start uncrating this and getting it into the house, and then getting ready to install these. And I did, when I first saw the material that they were made out of, I was like, whoa, what kind of material is this? And it turns out it's kind of, the black finish, it's actually kind of a rubbery material. And I was like, uh-oh, if you were to scratch that or anything, how do you repair, like it's some kind of poly, it's a rubber material. And I'll go over the pros and cons of that in a minute. But basically the doors, I uncrated them and brought them all in, and, in the beginning, everything, they looked pretty good. And right here, I go to install these. And basically, you unscrew one screw on the bottom, and then you take this plate off, or this bottom. This is just a shipping piece. But in my case, I should have left this on because I have a I have a 1/2 inch of, or even almost 7/8 of material going on my floor. So I could have left this on, and because this was the first door, I just did what I always do and took it off. But you'll see on the next 2 doors that I install, I actually left it on because it was easier to put it in there and keep it all nice and straight on that first one. And right here you can see I'm using foam on the floor and foam to hold the door, and I'm being extra careful with everything. And I basically, what I do is I unscrew the door. The door is pretty heavy, it's solid core. So I unscrew that, get that out of the way, and then proceed to put in my jamb. And basically, I always, this is basically building a house by yourself. And I have hung a lot of doors in my lifetime, and I always start out with the hinge side and get that all plumbed up. I make sure that I check both sides to make sure that the jamb, that when I start shimming on one side or the other, I have room to shim the legs one way or the other. But I basically check everything, and then I install the jamb side first. I pull the hinges out. Basically, they come with some little short Phillips screws in the hinge side, and I basically pull those out and put some 3-inch long screws on that hinge side. And basically, it's a matter of just going through and shimming this whole thing all the way around, and then getting your reveal. What you want to do, let me forward a little bit further. So fast forwarding a little bit, what you want to do is, so I've already put the screws in the 2 hinges, and I've leveled this thing straight up and down really nice on the hinge side. And basically what I'm doing here is I pull out, it's got some weather stripping on the inside of this door, and I pull out the weather stripping, and then I basically shoot some nails through where the weather stripping goes so that you won't be able to see those nails, and basically plumb it up. And then I go through and I basically get the door hung. And once the door is hung back on the hinges, then I go through and I reveal the top header and the side, both the top and the side jamb. And basically you want your reveal to be equal distance all the way around. And you basically go on the inside and basically check your reveal all the way around. And then you basically do the same thing. You use a lot of shims, and you basically shim it up nice and straight, make sure your lock set works good, and then get that other side of the jamb installed. Now you can see I basically look on the inside, and I'm basically looking down that reveal, and it shows me how many shims and stuff I have to put in. Now here you can see I put the casing on the outside of the door, and here's where I think my first mistake was. When I read the instructions for this casing and I watched one of their videos, they said to use a pin nailer and basically shoot the casing in. I think that's a mistake because this material is made out of some kind of rubber, and when I shot that casing in, I looked at the little holes there and I thought, how am I gonna fill those holes? And of course, before I put the casing on, I basically fill all around the doors with foam, and I'm just using a window and door foam, so it doesn't expand a huge amount. And I'm basically filling in all the cracks to keep it nice and tight. Now here's where the bad news is. So one of the doors had a damage on it. Now you can see it right up here, and it came like that. And I inspected that, and I took a little water and wiped to see what that was. It almost looked like it was done during whatever the finish process is that they do to put this rubber on the door. It looks like it happened then. But anyway, and then we'll get to the bad part, but it has good parts. I mean, so basically I decided I'm not gonna shoot nails into this jamb because I don't want to have to try to figure out how to patch rubber holes. And after talking with Belldinni, they don't have any kind of patch for these holes. So if you shoot a nail into these casings, you really don't have a good way to clean them up. So basically what I did was I went and got some construction adhesive and decided that the other two pre-hung doors that have casing, I was going to glue them. And that actually turned out way better and way cleaner. And I would definitely recommend doing that. And if you need to, you can always open up the door or even take the door off and clamp both sides if you need to. But on this because it's telescoping, like you can see right here, I'm installing one of them. And because when it goes in, it actually, it almost you can't get it off very easy, because the way they've designed it, when you push it in there, it stays in there, and it's actually not easy to pull off. So that's why I think there's no reason to put a nail in these things. So I'm using construction adhesive on both of these, and then basically I just pound them in there until they're flush with the wall. And I use a generous amount of adhesive. Here you can see I'm putting on the top casing. And really, when you glue them, they just look a lot better. Now I do have a little bit of a, where the 45-degree casings meet at the top. I'm gonna have to figure out something where I can, touch that up a little bit. I don't want to do too much, because I just don't want to, I don't want to have anything happen to this rubber, knowing what I know about this company and how, you really can't patch. There's no patch for this finish, which is a little concerning. If you buy something that, now you can see that looks pretty damn good, but it is, it's just glued. So you want to, get your 45-degree cuts really nice and tight, and then just let it set up, and you're done. But so I'm going to go ahead and finish installing all these rest of the doors, and I'm also going to install the barn door, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons of this product. Yeah, it actually cleans really easy just by wiping it, and it looks pretty damn good. Now here you can see one of my barn doors that I installed, and the look is good. It's the exact look that I was going for the house, these doors. And like I said, so my only worry about ordering this type of product with kind of this rubber finish, I mean, it's not paint, it's rubber. So, and it's actually not a thin rubber, it's kind of a thick material. I would not advise shooting nails through this rubber material to install your casing. I would do what I did and glue them. I think that turned out a lot better. Here you can see one of the doors right there all installed, and I glued those jambs, so they really look a lot better. Now, and you cannot make any mistakes with these things. So if I was to order this package again, which I probably wouldn't, and even though I'm happy with the look of all these doors, and it's kind of they operate and work just like I wanted, the worry about this thing is they don't warranty it. Now they say they warranty it, but when I opened that door, when I opened up that package with the damaged door, I took a picture of it right away and sent it to them. And then I said, and then I told myself, if the only thing they're going to do is send me if they do anything, it's going to be send me a new door. They're not going to send me the jamb and everything. So I went ahead and hung the jamb, because these are pre-hung doors. So you're not really doing anything to the door. You're just hanging it, So I went ahead and hung it. And I contacted them the very same day that I opened that package up. And I sent them an email, and of course they didn't get back to me for a few days. And by that time, that door jamb was all, was installed and sitting there. And basically, it's a lot safer to be hung than it would be to be, laying in some crate. But anyway, so I asked them, I said, well, is there any way to repair that? Or, what's your procedure for warranty for that? And I had just got, I contacted them within one day of seeing the damage. And they said, oh, no, I'm sorry, John, you hung the door, and we have a policy that if you hang the door, then we don't warranty it. Now, mind you, I didn't do anything to this door. It's just basically on the hinges, and the door was what was damaged. So I wasn't expecting them to warranty the jamb or casing or anything like that. I was just expecting them to fix this damaged door, and basically they just nicely said, no, we can't. Our policy is not to warranty anything like that. So I don't think they would ever warranty anything, to be honest with you. In talking with them, I just don't think, I think they would find an excuse not to be able to help you. And so that's the reason, even though, if there was no damage and you didn't make any, and you knew about these things, they are nice looking. So I don't know. I'm kind of. It's a toss up whether I would ever order these doors again. Mainly because I don't think you. So I think if you, like in my case, I spent $6,000 on 6 doors, and I think you're basically, if you do get any damage, you're gonna just have to order a brand new door, and you're gonna have to eat it yourself, because I just don't believe they would take care of it. Now, she tried to say, well, she wanted the blame to go on the freighting company somehow, but really the crate was very nicely put together, like I showed you. And so I don't know how the damage actually got to that little corner of the door. And actually, this door that you're looking at in this picture right there, that's the damaged door, and you can't really see it from here. You can see it when you get up close, but it's not, it is terrible, but it's not the end of the world. I probably will end up having to buy a new door, because I don't think I'll be able to live with that, and I don't think that I'm going to be able to repair that. So review of Belldinni doors, I would have to say that the doors themselves and the material that they use to make them is pretty interesting, and I like the look of it. It really has that modern look that I'm going for, and not a lot of people have that kind of modern look. The thing that I would worry about is, like I said, there's no, like, if it was a painted material, you could sand that down and paint it, and basically repair it yourself if you needed to, if they weren't going to warranty it. But knowing that if there's any kind of damage, I have to order a brand new door, and there's no repercussion, and I just don't know if I'll leave it up to you whether you would order these doors or not. And let me know in the comments if you've actually dealt with this company before and what your experience is. And like I said, they are clean. I liked the hardware. I liked the magnetic catch. Everything actually really came out just the way I wanted it, with the exception of, you really need to know right away, don't shoot any nails through this rubber material. And also, if you do have any kind of damage, make sure that you do not even hang the door, and even though I didn't think that would be an issue, basically they're not going to warranty it, even though I didn't, it's a pre-hung door and I didn't touch this door. except to, you know, set it into place. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time. Later.
There he goes, it's a working man. He's trying to make a living any way he can. And he'll break his back for $1 or $2. Oh, there ain't no shame in what he do. Oh, work it out.